let's just start from maybe talking about how the idea was conceptualized. What's Yulu all about? And what is the solution? What is the problem to which we have found some solution here?
Okay, great.
Over to you, yes.
So I think you picked the right word to start the conversation with, where you spoke about micro mobility,
Yeah.
right? So actually, it started with our CEO Amit Gupta.
Hmm.
He co-founded InMobi. So
Yeah.
the distance from his home to his office at InMobi was barely, I think, 3 kilometers or something. And in the beginning, when he used to travel, it used to take 15, 20 minutes. But over the years, when it started taking almost an hour just for that commute, he decided, okay, let's do something about this problem. So
Hmm.
it's something that we face every day, and if we can do something about it, then why not? So this term micromobility is pretty much focused on distances anywhere less than 5 kilometers.
Hmm.
And India as a country, the cities are developing the infrastructure pretty well, focusing on metros, buses, and all other public transportations. So if we have to decongest the cities, the best way to go about it is to ensure that people start using this public transport facility as much as possible, right? So, like if you see in Bangalore, for example, there are the population of around 14 million. There would be around 5 million people who would be using metro every day. However, the last one and the first one is not that well developed. Like if you want to take a metro, you still have to get to the metro station, and once
Correct.
you get, you still have to need something to get to the office, right?
Right.
If that piece is broken, there'll be a little resistance in people to take up public transportation. So that is where you started its business idea from.
So micromobility is primarily say reaching out to the end destination. So if you reach the bus station, if you reach the metro station, from there to the end destination where you have to reach, that's where you see the problem was, and we have come up with some idea wherein we have an electric bike. You just go plug it out from there and then take it and reach your destination. How does it come back to the destination again? Where it started from?
So there are three parts to this. You covered what you said was the last mile part from the metro
Yeah.
station to destination. There's
Correct.
also first mile from your home to the metro station.
Station.
And there's also the near mile, which means like if me sitting at home in Malad, I want to go to the closest market, to closest grocery store. That's near mile. So that also is part of micromobility.
I Yulu because it helps me reach faster.
I Yulu because it is available even when others aren't.
Unlocked.
I Yulu because it's much easier.
Because it's just more fun.
Because I won't spend 40 minutes on a 10-minute journey.
Because I want that commute burn a hole in my pocket.
Because I won't be burdened on the environment.
And much more importantly,
Because with Yulu,
I am
Unstoppable.
Now, how it comes back is a very interesting question. So there's this thing which we call as natural rebalancing or organic rebalance. So which means that if I as a user take the bike and leave it at my grocery store, there'll be some user who is wanting to come from the grocery store to another residential area. So as the network increases, as we have more density of bikes in the same area, this natural rebalancing takes place on its own. And like we as actors don't have to do anything really. That said, Yulu also does forced rebalance. So let me give you an example of BKC. I don't know how familiar you are from about Mumbai.
I know about BKC though. Yes. Yeah.
So BKC, the closest railway station is Bandra. Now what will happen is in the morning there'll be a crowd of people from Bandra station to BKC using. Now at the same time there'll be the next set of people for whom these bikes have to be made available. So that's when Yulu picks up these bikes and rebalances them to the required destination.
It sounds interesting. What I was talking to my team, like I'm going to talk to somebody at Yulu and this is what they do, and I was trying to get inputs from them, like how does it work? Is it an application that you have to have on a phone to unlock the bikes? And also they were telling me about that, and then a very simple question popped up in my mind: why not propagate bicycling anyway? Like people can have bicycles and use them, and then it started talking about road infrastructure. So I have been wanting to, because my office is very close to my home, but we have been like either drive or walk around. The road infrastructure, bicycling infrastructure is not as such adequate for taking out those cycles. So I have seen Yulu in CR Park, Chitranjan Park, where our office is, in Greater Kailash too as well. I've never been tempted to go out and unplug the bike because I think it's not going to be safe on the ride. So do you do anything to propagate, so probably engage with the government, authorities, to propagate cycling tracks or something like that?
Yes, we do that. But just before that, when you said cycling was a little risky, let me just give you one statistic there. So there was a report, I forget by which authority, but they said that in India, the lowest level of accidents, the lowest count of accidents happens to bicycles. We have been doing a lot to propagate bicycling. So the Smart City Mission, for example, that has been helped written by one of the founders, Mr. K. Mishra. Also, if you come to Bangalore, you'll start seeing these bicycle lanes. So just a section of the road is specially carved out where only bicycles are allowed. And Yulu is classified legally as a bicycle because it's lower than 25 kilometers per hour speed. And also the other dimensions which the authorities have regulated, Yulu meets all of them. So we are actually allowed to fly in the bicycle lanes, which is really good for us. I'll actually want to tell you about another initiative we're doing in association with Greenpeace and Detox City in Bangalore. So there's a region called Pina in Bangalore where there are a lot of factories. So this particular garment factory where there were a lot of female employees. So they saw a lot of absenteeism within the employees. And when we delved a little further, the only reason for that was they didn't have a very convenient way to commute to their work. So decided, okay, let's give them cycling. But then there was another issue. We assumed that the girls would know cycling, but that was actually not the case. So as part of one of our initiatives, we actually gave some cycles to help the girls learn how to bicycle. And now the attendance is slowly coming back on track. The absenteeism is going down.
हेलो
श्वेता, कहाँ हो तुम?
हाँ जी पापा, बस 5 मिनट में ऑफिस से निकल रही हूँ.
नहीं, कोई जरूरत नहीं है जल्दी निकलने की. बर्थडे केक मैं अकेले काट लूंगा.
पापा बस 5 मिनट में पहुंच जाऊंगी, डोंट वरी. रुको.
Very interesting. So my next question would have anyway been how you are propagating or promoting cycling usage among people. So this is one of the initiatives. Tell me more of such initiatives, city focus, geography focus that you do, that you've undertaken primarily to propagate or to promote cycling among children.
Actually, just by the nature of our business, just by what we do, we enable mobility. So just by that factor, our nature of business is kind of a CSR for many people. So because you're asking for more examples, let me just tell you about another thing we did with students. It was in a certain area of Bangalore where the students of the school, they were living 1.5 hours away from their school. And of course, the same issues. We saw that the reason for the absenteeism was because they had to walk 1.5 hours and kids really did not want to do that. And there we gave some cycles to the students. This was in association with the road
cycles that you gave are the same Yulu bikes?
So we also have pedal bicycles. So we have two versions. One are the electric vehicles that you would have seen in Delhi, and the others are pedal bicycles, which the kids can use.
So those are the ones that you give to your kids in the schools, the pedal ones. Okay, that sounds interesting. So actually giving out bicycles is propagating with them, and you were talking about working along with authorities for bicycle tracks, promoting some initiatives around cycles. Can you pick up any example from there wherein you actually reached out to authorities or probably had some conversations with them, and what were their inputs on the same?
So actually, while we do that, what interestingly happens is that the authorities also reach out to us. So this happened in Bangalore again, where a police station there for their night patrolling, especially during the times of COVID, when there was not much transportation available. So for police to get from their homes to their workplaces just to do night patrolling, etc., it was getting a little difficult. So they said, okay, can we help solve the mobility issue there? So that's how Yulu also came into the picture. And we also keep conducting a lot of awareness campaigns and road safety campaigns with the police. That's an ongoing event across Bangalore and across the cities that we work with.
So we can say it's just not enabling micro-mobility, but also propagating and promoting, creating awareness around usage of sustainable mobility and micro-mobility. And so who is your target audience as of now, if you look at it? Is it only the school-going or college-going students who are, I have often seen them. But I was also thinking probably they could be also the house helps who come around, who walk around in the localities a lot. Have you ever tried targeting those individuals?
So our target audience is essentially anybody who moves, anybody who has to move within a radius of 0 to 5 kilometers. So we have never specifically targeted house help, etc. But that's just an organic way of our business. Like people do use them as and when they see the use. So actually one interesting use case that came about with this was the delivery executives.
Okay.
If you look at people who deliver food, groceries, small packages, etc., the demand for these gig workers that really increased, especially during COVID. Earlier we were in the habit of going out, getting our groceries and bringing them back in. But now, since COVID, a lot of people are actually pretty comfortable with the phone. Okay, just order it and your food will come downstairs. What people miss out on that is, while the demand supply there is matched, the enabler of that, how will you get that delivered to your house, that you need a vehicle.
Correct.
And a lot of the individuals who are these delivery executives, they don't have either a vehicle for transportation and they don't have the credit score that they can take a big loan and buy a vehicle for themselves.
Right.
So that's where Yulu comes into picture, where they can take the vehicle for a few days for a rented period, which is very, very affordable for them, and make a livelihood out of it.
That's very interesting. So can you give me an example of, not example actually, the charges, like how are they, like on a rental basis? Suppose a delivery executive, maybe a guy from Zomato or Swiggy, he wants to use a bike for local deliveries. How much do he actually has to pay for on a weekly basis or daily basis?
So it's around somewhere around 185 rupees for a day.
Okay. That's not much. If you look at it, the kind of deliveries he can make through using that electric bike. Yeah. And
sorry.
Do you have numbers, data on this? Like how many people have been able to generate livelihoods using the bikes? Do you keep database of it?
We do actually. So till date, around since we started this service, around 17,000 people, unique delivery executives, have taken our services at some point or the other. And the good part is that, one, it is cheaper. Second, it is environmentally friendly. So because it is EV powered, the rising cost of petrol don't really affect the deliveries and their daily income.
Yeah, who has to charge it? Does Yulu charge it, or is it like a responsibility of an individual who is taking it has to charge it? Do we have charging stations?
We do actually. So there's this concept called Yulu Max Points, where if a person is running low on battery, they can just come to any of their max points or max stations, as we call them, and it is less than a minute that they can go from like whatever percentage charge that they have to 100% charge. It's a pretty quick. So that happens. Even apart from that, there is our own team which makes sure that all the bikes on the road are sufficiently charged at any point in time, so that the delivery executives in their day, they don't face any downtime in their deliveries.
Interesting. And is there a swapping system as well? Suppose my bike is crashed or it's not working, it's not enabling, so I can just go and swap it with another bike? That's allowed? You
can just go to the on any other bike that is available. You can go to any Yulu Max station which is available, and you can simply just do a swap.
Okay. Coming to the environmental factors now. Do you actually reach out? Like, I want to understand the communication strategy. Like, I have seen Yulu bikes parked, and that was the only medium of communication I got to know. Then I was curious, well, what are these bikes and why are they here and how they are being used? Is there any other communication strategy that you follow to reach out to the youth primarily who wants to use it?
Tell you, this is a very weird statistic for a startup, but our customer acquisition costs are actually zero. We don't spend any money on acquiring our users because our bikes are talking for themselves. So you see a bike a day, you see it the second day, the third day, you'll actually wonder if you want to go somewhere, you'll actually go and scan what is this, how does it work. However, we do communicate with colleges just to create. So when I told you about our awareness campaigns, our road safety campaigns, so that's where people also come to know about, okay, there's this thing called Yulu, and we can try it the next time. This happens in collaboration with colleges, with societies, with tech parks.
So how many Yulu bikes are on the roads as of now?
So we have around 10,000 Yulu bikes, electric scooters on road today.
10,000 are the electric ones.
10,000 are the electric ones. We also have another 8,000 pedal bicycles.
And what are we targeting? How many do you think will be there in like another year or so? Because it's a very small number compared to the kind of need that is there across India.
I agree. So if you look at similar cities in Chennai, like in China, like Shanghai, etc., they have millions of these vehicles in each city. So the number, we are actually just a drop in the ocean. So, mission perspective, we are actually planning to move pretty fast. That in the next 1 year, we are planning to take this number from 10,000 to 100,000.
Okay. And that would need a lot of impetus coming in, a lot of financial support. You would need to reach out to the financiers, individuals probably have to raise capital for this. Is it actually a sustainable revenue model around this?
So if you look at our bikes individually, on a contribution margin level, they are profitable by themselves. Mm-hmm. So it is just a matter of reaching the right scale. The bikes, while they're making money from for themselves, while we reach the correct scale, the business model, in fact, it's not just break even, it's actually a pretty good, profitable.
So has Yulu reached break even already?
Bike level, contribution margin level, we were profitable from day one, from the day we started.
I don't understand this contribution margin level as such from a business perspective.
Let me just make it easier for you. So for every rupee that the bike earns, it spends less than a rupee on direct cost. So if you look at the cost of rebalancing, if you look at the cost of charging and cleaning the bikes, maintaining the bikes, if you reduce all those costs, we are still profitable from day one.
Interesting. So Mamta, have you also explored partnering with corporate houses or larger foundations, non-profit organizations to sustain and help in sustenance and say increasing the reach of these bikes? Because it can also qualify as I look at it as a corporate social responsibility model, wherein one corporate comes in and says, okay, at particular geography, we want to promote sustainable mobility or say micro mobility, which is also sustainable mobility, and they support the initiative instead of a person paying, because it's also generating livelihood. So it closes the entire gap of so what a CSR program wants it should be sustainable, it should be self-sustaining, and it should also somehow generate livelihoods. Have you ever explored that idea? Reaching out to a corporate and saying, support these Yulu bikes, and these bikes will be used by delivery guys or house helps or somebody. They'll generate livelihood out of it. Instead of them paying for the bike, you pay for the bike, the rentals of it.
So this kind of a model we have not explored yet, but we do partner with corporates in a different way. Okay. So a lot of these corporates have huge spaces in either tech parks or their own individual standalone buildings. Now, when we go and approach them, what we ask them for is to give us some space outside their building, what we call as a Yulu zone.
Okay.
So their employees, if they want to bring a Yulu to their office, so that is one, it is giving them a mobility option, and second is that it's environmental friendly, and the third is that the company does not have to worry about, okay, so many of my employees will be bringing cars, how do I find the parking space for that? So they just give
me a case study of this, like you can name a corporate probably which is partnered with you.
So we had partnered with Intel in Bangalore.
Okay.
And so there are actually a bunch of corporates. We have currently around 2,000 Yulu zones across Bangalore.
Oh, interesting. So that's like the hub. Maximum bikes, I suppose, are there in Bangalore.
are in Bangalore. Yes.
And acceptability surely must be high, because I believe the individuals there are probably more aware and environmentally conscious than compared to people in North India. This is how I feel it. We are sitting in an air quality of 450 plus and nobody's bothered.
Even if you don't look at it from an air quality perspective, if you just look at it from a plain convenience perspective, even then the acceptability in northern parts of India is pretty good, because people do need that option of commuting.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Anything that you would want to share, particularly from sustainability perspective, how the company, not just this model, how the company itself is focusing on other sustainability initiatives, some programs that are probably not related to business, but you invest in, also the CSR part of the company?
So I think all the CSR we do, one, like I said, the nature of our business is that it is CSR focused. So we have helped save around 10,000 metric tons of carbon footprint to date from our inception.
Oh, you track that as well, no?
Yeah, we do track. So for every trip that a person takes on a Yulu, we tell them how much carbon footprint they've saved. So.
Okay. But that can be debatable, because that person was probably only walking and now he started using the electric bike. So, and that is being charged wherein the carbon goes in. So he could also be emitting carbon.
So there is, this huge debate. But if you see a majority of the people, especially in the big cities, we were erstwhile replacing the carbon, the taxis. So if you look at any of the taxis or any of the personal vehicles which people use, so you would see most of the time in a car which has capacity of carrying 4 or 5 people, there would be just one person in the car.
Give me the number again. What was it? How many metric tons of carbon?
It was 10,000 metric tons of carbon.
10,000. Wow. That's cool. So you can also become a carbon trading model, no?
We are exploring that in the future, yes.
Okay. What all we are exploring in the future? It's a startup. It's been what, 3 years now? 2 years?
So we launched the electric scooters in February 2019.
2019, yeah. And we are looking at expanding primarily the electric scooters across metros. And are we also looking at going to tier 2, tier 3?
So our primary focus would be the top 3 cities of India, which is Delhi, NCR, Bangalore, and Mumbai. Just because if you look at the amount of demand which is coming from these 3 cities, that is humongous. So that's step 1 for us. Step 2 is the top 10 cities of India. And then we go down.
When you say demand, so demand is from consumers?
Demand from consumers.
Like they fall short, they don't get a bike and they reach out to you that we're not getting it, you should place some more here.
In fact, the customers don't even have to tell us. Like you can just go and stand in front of any of the probably local train stations in India, and they will see these huge queues which are waiting for how to get to their office. So there's probably a sharing rickshaw which is very congested and it's not really comfortable, etc. However, there is one internal thing that we track. So if you open our app, there is a section called Request Yulu Zone. All you have to do is go and click that button, and we get a notification. So we keep of that, and eventually, when we do have enough bikes to place near these locations, we actually reach out to customers to see how do we take this forward.
Quite interesting. So you have to have a Yulu app in the first place, right? And then only we can access the bikes. So if we have to propagate it amongst our house helps, people who are coming and often delivering, so the first thing we should just tell them about Yulu bikes. They exist. You can just get it from somewhere else, and you have to have a smartphone to have an app and then start using it in there.
That's right.
Great. Sounds very interesting. What's the competition like now? It just could not be Yulu. There must be other players in the market as well.
So if you talk about traditional micro mobility, there is, there are all these players who have been traditional auto rickshaws or cab drivers, etc., who focus on sharing economy. So that's one part of it. However, there are some other companies. If you even come to Bangalore, there are some startups who are trying to figure out the micro mobility model, and there is actually competition. And in the end, I think even if it's just Yulu or if it's just 2-3 companies, there's still enough and more demand in the market to sustain.
Yeah, the market is huge and there is a lot of demand, and then of course there is a place for all of them to have their share of this market. And at the end of the day, sustainable mobility and micro mobility wins. The more players are there, and the congestion in the cities, of course, goes down. Last but not the least, I've forgotten it. There was something moving in my mind. It was around. Oh yeah. So there were earlier bicycles. There used to be a lot of bicycles that used to be parked around, and they were not like I'm forgetting this Go Green bikes or something. That was a trend that started in Delhi. It never picked up primarily because of I don't know, because the bikes were not coming back. People were not returning them. So it was a friend, I spoke to him as well. It was like people would just take bike and they would get lost, and they were not tracking system as such. So how do you keep track of this? Is it like a device that is being tracked? Is there a device inside the bike, and what has been the loss rate as such? You must have lost some bikes, I'm sure.
Right. So you actually asked a very good question. So let me just start with the global statistic. So for all of these micro mobility companies which are functioning globally, the theft rate is around 3%. So for every 100 bikes they put on road, 3 of them just disappear. For Yulu, this number is less than 0.5%.
Less than 0.5%.
Less than 0.5%. And it is not by luck, it is not by chance, it's actually pretty much by design. So a few of the reasons that we've been able to achieve this is, one, as you said, there is a tracker in our devices. At any given point in time, you know exactly where the bikes are. And if we don't hear from our bike in a few days, there is a team of Yulu bike marshals, as we call them, who go chasing after the bikes and looking for where it is. And yeah, so once we find somebody who's been messing around with our bikes, there is a consequence management system.
Understood.
And this does not happen again. Another thing which has been helping us really well is our cluster-based and Yulu zone-based approach, where we mandate our users that at the end of every ride, you have to return it at a Yulu zone. So till the time you don't bring a bike back to a Yulu zone, which is a known area to us, their ride does not end. The billing keeps on going on.
Understood.
And because we have such a widespread network of Yulu zones, it's actually pretty easy and convenient for a customer to just drop it off at Yulu zones.
And is it prepaid or postpaid? It's like I have to have a certain balance in my account to be able to use it, right?
Yes. So there's a Yulu wallet. It's a closed wallet on the Yulu app where you put in money and you are billed actually at the end of the ride. When you go and click end your ride at a Yulu zone, that's where you'll actually be billed basis the time that you use the bike.
Yeah, it's like the Uber, it blocks your Paytm money or reserves your money. Once a trip is completed, it deducts it from there, right?
It's a little different, but conceptually it's similar. Like you pay money to the Yulu wallet and it gets stored there. And at the end of the ride, you keep deducting it from there.
Very interesting. So it's like sounding like a unique idea to me, which is like propagating and it's promoting. It's doing quite well at the grassroots, right? As an individual, when you look at your, not as a representative from the company, as an individual, when you look at this concept, do you think it's scalable and sustainable and it's going to be accepted amongst youth and other individuals in future?
Okay, I finished a little more than 2 years with the company, and this is exactly what fascinated me to join. So this was such an innovative idea, which is helping the environment so much. And even from the demand perspective, there's just endless demand. If you just look around and retrospect a little, you'll see that this business is definitely scalable. So in the beginning, of course, there'll be some capital expenditure, but if you do it well, if your operations are executed efficiently, which the company is doing very well, by the way, it's much more than a break-even business. It's a very profitable business. I'm very proud of where I am at today.
How have been the investors' response?
Investors' responses have been pretty good. So if you look at our cap table, we've got some very, very marquee names on our cap table. And yeah, they've been very happy with the way the business has been progressing.
Great, that really sounds good. Mamta, we also work in this sustainability space, environment space. We work with a lot of corporations. There is an event at Coffee for Cause. We just concluded one recently on 14th, and we are planning one in Mumbai, and we are coming to Bangalore on 21st January. Probably we want you to participate in that as well. So Coffee for Cause is a concept wherein corporates come on board and support this initiative. It's sustained by a corporate. So Aditya Birla Group is a presenter of Coffee for Cause, and we have Toyota, we have Hero MotoCorp, Jindal Stainless, who participate and also help sustain these conversations. And we are running several environmental initiatives as well. We work with some schools. We work on programs of focused at environment of CSR as part of CSR of corporates. So we execute several of those programs. Anything else that you would want to share about Yulu or your experiences? Some anecdote, some experience. That's the last one. Then we'll conclude this part.
So okay. Because you asked for a personal experience, let me just start with when I joined. So Yulu was a relatively new startup when I joined here, and people were a little skeptical getting into the startup industry, etc. And there was a little fear, okay, what will happen? We've never heard of this company, etc. But once I am here, now when I speak to anybody I know, okay, I work with Yulu, the amount of pride and the amount of fascination that which they talk to me, I'm really proud of it. Yeah, it's very nice to know that.
Great. Thank you so much, Mamta. It was a pleasure talking to you.